Amazon is stealing thousands of dollars from you right now, and you probably don't even know it. Think about when Amazon loses items in your inbound FBA shipments. Where does that money actually go? Or maybe you already know how to file for missing inventory, but Amazon isn't giving you the right amount that you paid for those items. That's just one example of the reimbursement process, and there's many other areas where leakage can occur. This is going to be the only A to Z reimbursement process video on YouTube. I can promise you that. So whether you've never filed a reimbursement claim in your life and you have no idea what I'm even talking about, or you know what reimbursements are and you know you should be doing them, but you don't know how, this video, I promise you, will be the only guide you will need on an entire complete step-by-step walkthrough of the reimbursement process. And I honestly feel like I should gatekeep this video because it's literally going to bring back thousands of dollars a month in your pocket. But I do think it's a shame that no one has made an in-depth guide on the different type of reimbursements you as an Amazon seller need to be filing for. So I'm here to bring that solution. One quick thing before we hop into the video: if you are serious about starting or scaling your arbitrage business and ultimately saving money through useful advice like this, then definitely feel free to subscribe to the newsletter below. I share games just like this once a week on Wednesdays, so definitely feel free to check it out. All right, so jumping into the video here, let's first go ahead and answer the question that many of you might be asking, which is, what is reimbursements and what are we really going to be talking about today? Reimbursements in your Amazon business is the money that you are owed from Amazon when they lose or damage your FBA inventory during the receiving process. And then once your shipment gets marked as a closed status, you are now eligible to file for reimbursement. And if you don't know, Amazon does not automatically reimburse you, nor do they know how much you paid for your items, which is why it's really important you understand all the different types of reimbursements and how to file step by step for each one. Okay, and reimbursements are going to consist of 5 different steps that we're going to talk about in this video, so buckle up. It's going to be a long one, but it's going to absolutely save you thousands of dollars. Okay, so the 5 different reimbursement methods are shown here on screen, which is going to be the first one, updating sourcing costs. The second is going to be closed shipment discrepancies, specifically for research missing units. The third is going to be for closed shipment discrepancies with the investigation marked as complete. The fourth is going to be to submit a reimbursement claim dispute. And the fifth is going to be eligible for claim reimbursements. And I'm going to be breaking down each part and explaining what it is, why it's important, and how to actually implement it, and then condense it all into a 5-step process that you should follow once a week for your own Amazon business. Okay, so let's get into it. So the first reimbursement type is going to be updating your sourcing costs. What this is it's the cost that you paid for your inventory that you will need to provide to Amazon. Okay, why we do this is because it gives us better odds of Amazon reimbursing us the full amount for that inventory we are owed. So please understand, when you provide Amazon your sourcing costs, it doesn't guarantee that they're going to be able to reimburse you on the full value of that, but it certainly increases your chances tenfold when it comes to them actually giving you a fair amount to reimburse. Okay, and here is a step-by-step walkthrough of how we're going to actually go about updating those sourcing costs and making sure that you're giving yourself the best odds. All right, so first, step 1, we're going to go ahead and get a bulk cost of good upload sheet from Amazon Seller Central. So in Seller Central here, the process you're going to want to follow is hit the 3-line button in the top left here, hover over inventory, and then click on the dashboard. And then you're going to want to hover over the inventory tab again in the dashboard, and you're going to want to come down to where you see inventory defect and reimbursement. And then in the top right here of inventory defect and reimbursement menu, you're going to want to click manage sourcing cost. Okay, and then you're going to want to hit bulk update here in the top right. And then from here, you can download your sourcing cost file by clicking download sourcing cost. And when you download this file, you're going to get something that looks like this, that has a bunch of different columns here. So essentially it has your ASIN and FN SKU. It has the Amazon estimated cost. So this is essentially what Amazon is estimating to reimburse you on the cost of those goods. The latest approved cost. So this is what actually did get approved. And then the source of the latest approved cost, which is if you, the seller, submitted documents or got approved by manually requesting that your cost be what was last approved, or if Amazon deems their cost as a fair cost and they automatically deemed a source of latest approved cost effectively. And then in column G, we can see the date of last updated cost, which essentially is telling you when was the last time you updated costs for that particular ASIN. And then here in column H is where you're actually going to input your new cost, and you're going to want to just format this as very simply, if it's $1, you'll put 1.00. Make sure that you include both decimal places there, because if you do not, then the COGS will not update properly on Amazon's end. If it automatically automatically takes away your zeros. Just make sure to increase the decimal places as we see here. Okay, now you might be looking at this spreadsheet and just are completely confused, right? So the whole point of this spreadsheet is to effectively be able to bulk update all of the actual cost of goods you paid for each of these ASINs and SKUs so that you can just go ahead and bulk update it to Amazon and you don't have to do it one by one. So the best way to actually go about updating the seller new cost in column H here is to copy an ASIN that does not have a cost entered for it in column A here, and then you're going to want to reference back to a inventory tracker that has compiled all of your buys for that particular ASIN. So what I did when I went ahead and did this for the first time was I used to track all my inventory on Google Sheets, and I did them across separate spreadsheets for each separate month. So what I did was I had ChatGPT basically compile all of those inventory trackers together to where it had like multiple thousands of rows, and then I essentially just looked up that particular ASIN in question in the all-time inventory tracker. And your objective here is to find the transaction that you paid for this item with that has the highest cost per unit. Now, you want to find the highest cost per unit because that is what Amazon is effectively going to reimburse you on. So you want to be squeezing every single bit of juice you can get, because also you're going to have documentation if they require it to approve that sourcing cost because you've already bought that product. The nice thing with reimbursements is that it's not like an inauthentic claim where you have to provide all the units you purchased. You just need some sort of proof of documentation, whether it's a confirmation or an invoice that proves that you actually bought at least one unit at the given cost that you claim for updating your bulk sourcing costs. So just to give you a rough outline as to how to do this, again, find in this downloaded spreadsheet here ASINs that don't have any costs. You're going to go ahead, copy that ASIN, look it up in whatever you use to track your inventory. I will mention, try and compile as much of all your transactions into one spreadsheet or something so that you don't have to keep looking across, 5 different spreadsheets to find one ASIN. Okay, so once you now have a compiled inventory sheet, what you're going to want to do is copy the ASIN from the downloaded sheet from Amazon Seller Central, look up the ASIN in your inventory sheet, find the transaction with the highest average cost per unit, and that is going to be the cost per unit that you put in column H. And a final quick tip I can give about this step, you want to actually put the final cost of what you paid as what the cost came out to on your proof of documentation. So you actually can give yourself a little bit more money by using that invoice cost instead of what you paid, let's say, after gift card discounts. We don't actually have to factor in the fact that if you use a 10% discounted gift card on, let's say, a $100 cost per unit ASIN, you wouldn't have to factor in that 10% because Amazon doesn't know that you're getting those discards for 10% off. They just see on your invoice that you paid $100 for, let's say, one unit of whatever item is on that invoice. So in that example, for that ASIN, you would use a seller new cost of $100 because you obviously paid $100 according to the invoice. So that's a quick little tip for how to squeeze some money out. So I'll go ahead and walk you through this live on the video here. Even though you're not going to be able to see much information, I'll just go ahead and run you through the general process. So we're going to go ahead and copy this random ASIN here in this first column, and then we're going to go ahead and just go back to a inventory tracker I have from January. Okay, so I'm first going to copy an ASIN that I already know exists in the January tracker just so I can show you how to do this live. But essentially what I would do is I would first go ahead and copy an ASIN that doesn't have an updated sourcing cost from the downloaded sheet. Then we're going to go ahead and look up that ASIN in your inventory sheet. You guys can see that I have multiple transactions showing in this Google search bar here. So it looks like we have about 14 different transactions. Realistically, this is going to be 7 because we also include the Amazon URL in our sheet, which contains the ASIN, so it populates this field by double. But essentially, I have 7 transactions that I've bought this ASIN on in January. So now my objective is going to be to simply find which transaction I spent the highest cost price per unit on. So we can see that so far it looks like I spent $25 pretty much flat across every transaction. So now that I've identified that this is $25, I'm going to go ahead and basically input in column H that I spent $25 just like that for that particular ASIN. And I'm going to go ahead and move that over 2 decimal places so that it actually updates properly. Okay, and you'll have to go through and do this for all of the ASINs that are in this downloaded sheet. It's quite a lot, and I will say you might be able to use a tool like Claude Cowork, if you guys are familiar with that, to go ahead and actually update these costs for you. I'm sure it could be as simple as giving it a prompt such as look up ASIN in this sheet and then report back with the costs, and you could probably figure out some sort of prompt to get it to work. Or you can have your VA do it like I did, and she basically manages the whole thing from here on out. All right, and then once you have all of your new seller costs costs entered, you're just going to want to go ahead and download the new file that you have containing all of your seller sourcing costs. So you can just download it as a Excel file here. And then what you'll want to go ahead and do is go back to Seller Central. And you're going to want to upload that bulk file. And once you upload the bulk file, you'll submit it for review. And Amazon will pretty much let you know what they've approved, what needs a manual review in the sense of you needing to upload documentation, and then what sourcing costs they actually denied you and what sourcing costs they denied you. And I'll be giving you a walkthrough on how to get around that as well. All right, so that is effectively step one here of the reimbursement process. Moving on to step two is going to now be the actual reimbursing and getting your money back on the next type of methods here. So we're going to talk about closed shipment discrepancies and researching missing units. So this is going to be the most common reimbursement format, probably what you're most familiar with, where Amazon loses your items in a shipment and you just get your reimbursement directly through the shipment. We're going to talk about it. So what exactly is this? Well, it's likely the first reimbursements you will file for, which is where Amazon lost or damaged your items in the receiving process of your inventory. Okay. The reason why we follow up and file for these is because Amazon does not automatically reimburse you if you do not file for reimbursements on lost or damaged FBA inventory, and you silently pay the price for them losing your inventory. Now let's go ahead and get into how to actually file for these type of reimbursements. The way you're going to want to do this is, again, 3-line button here in the top left. Before we start this process, make sure that all of your sourcing costs are updated. That is going to be a crucial step with every single part moving forward, is making sure that your sourcing costs are updated. It's very important. So moving on, hit the 3-line button, hover over inventory and click on shipments. All right. And then in shipments, you're going to want to filter the status bar to closed so that we can see all shipments that are eligible for filing a reimbursement. And essentially your job here is to identify shipments where there is a discrepancy between the expected units in black here and then the located units, which is going to be the first highlighted units in blue. And what we're going to be looking for here is shipments where the expected units up in the top here does not match what we can see in the blue first number here. So we can see this shipment from December 30th had just closed today. And we can see that right now I had expected to send in 44 units and Amazon has found 0 of them and the shipment is now closed. So this is going to be a major discrepancy that if I didn't file for, I would be losing all the cost of goods on this particular shipment. So we need to do our best to actually recover some of those funds back. Okay, so once you've identified the shipments that have this type of discrepancy, you're going to want to go ahead and click the first blue number here to actually pull you up to the shipment summary page. And from here, you can see all the contents. Okay, and what you're going to want to do is in the status bar here, you're going to want to click research missing units. And you're going to want to do this for each of the ASINs that have a discrepancy and basically that are missing units. And before you actually go in and submit your documents to file for research missing units, you're going to want to make sure that your updated sourcing costs are accurate for each of these ASINs where there is a discrepancy. Okay, so what I would be doing is I would be taking the ASIN of stuff that is currently in a discrepant state. I would be then referencing this stuff back to my inventory trackers and then updating it, back on the reimbursements page. So if you're just going to do a single update for a particular ASIN, you can just go to the inventory defect and reimbursement page here. And then from here, you can just actually look up the ASIN to figure out, well, first you're going to want to go to manage sourcing cost, and then you'll just want to look up the ASIN in the search bar here, and you can actually just look it up and update the, actual thing here. So you can see right now we had our last approved sourcing cost at $48.78, and that was approved. So if Amazon decides they want to reimburse us for those missing units, that is how much we should be getting back. Okay, and once you have verified that all of your costs are up to date for the discrepant ASINs, you're then going to want to upload documents in accordance to what Amazon is asking for. So essentially just show them that you actually own the inventory and that you paid for it. All you got to do is provide an invoice that has your name and the ASIN with the amount of units that are on there, and you'll be all good to go. And you'll just go ahead and upload the file, submit it to Amazon. Step 3, provide the additional information and stuff that if you have, you should provide. You'll preview the request and then you'll submit it. Okay, and before we get into the next reimbursement process, I am going to go over a couple of quick tips for you guys when it comes to updating your sourcing costs for this step and also for the rest of the video, which the first thing is going to be, if you notice that Amazon is giving you more money for the reimbursement than you actually paid for the item, do not update those sourcing costs. Okay, if you can see that the cost is approved on the reimbursement dashboard, then do not update the sourcing costs. So essentially what an approved status would look like is just if it has the approved check mark here in the manage your sourcing cost portal of the inventory defect and reimbursement page. And if it's not an approved source cost, then you're also going to see the status as denied. So we can go ahead and look up what denied status looks like, which is going to say denied with the red exclamation. And if you need to provide documents for anything that you are trying to get approved, they'll tell you. So effectively, if you see that the Amazon estimated sourcing cost of what they're going to reimburse you on an ASIN is higher than what you actually paid, do not go through the hassle of trying to get your cost into there, because they're literally giving you more money than what you paid for. And with reimbursements, I'm telling you, you're going to want as much leverage as you can get, because even though Amazon lost 44 of my units, there's no guarantee they're going to reimburse me, or they're going to not reimburse me for the full amount, even if they give me money back for what was lost. And the second tip I can give is, if not approved, you will be required to upload proof of ownership and see if Amazon will approve your cost. The approval and denial process is pretty much instant, but if you are denied after submitting your sourcing costs, which can happen, you're going to want to cheapen those submitted cost of goods by about 5% for each new submission within reasonable judgment. Okay, so if we go back to the update sourcing cost page here and we effectively just put what was denied, they're going to just give you a reason why the submitted value doesn't actually get approved by them. It's all bogus anyways. So effectively, right, you're going to want to go ahead and decrease this cost submitted amount by 5% each time until you get an approval that is higher than Amazon estimated sourcing costs. Now, I'd recommend doing this within reason, because you're not just going to want to spend like literally an hour going 5%, 5%, 5%. Okay, if they just keep denying you for forever and ever and ever, just take the Amazon estimated cost, right? Make sure that they actually do approve the cost, because if they don't approve the cost, even if Amazon estimates it, then it's not the actual reimbursement amount they're going to give you. They just won't give you any money. So for all of your stuff, you're going to want to make sure that it's actually approved, so that Amazon does give you some money back. But in the event where you have to keep submitting sourcing costs, you're just going to effectively want to reduce it by 5% each time, and eventually they will approve something. So again, just do it within reason. You want to fight for as much money as you can back, but you don't want to be spending hours and hours, fighting for 5% over and over and over again. Okay, so that is step 2 of the reimbursement process, which is very simply just submitting your documentation and proof of ownership for items that Amazon loses during the FBA shipment process. Okay, and before we get into the next 3 types of reimbursements, if you guys have already learned a ton of value from this video, again, I have that free newsletter linked in the description below, where I cover stuff just like this once a week on Wednesdays. So definitely feel free to sign up if you're looking for more advice. Okay, so the next type of reimbursement that we have here is going to be closed shipment discrepancies, specifically when Amazon deems the investigation as complete, which is effectively saying that they've completed your investigation, but you can still have a chance of having units that are missing. So why we're doing this is because you're still not being reimbursed fairly for the fault of them losing your inventory, meaning you will need to escalate this further to a support specialist through the help and resources menu. So let's go ahead and run through how to actually do this when Amazon marks your shipments as investigation completed. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what this actually looks like so that you can have some more context here. Okay, so an example of when Amazon deems an investigation complete, you can see that my VA already submitted a case in this example for an item that has -1 located units. But typically when they say an investigation is complete, it'll read in gray text here and it'll literally just say investigation completed. So in this case, you're going to want to actually open up a case with Amazon like my VA has done here. All right, and how we're going to actually do that is we're going to go ahead and click help in the top right here and then click get help and resources. And then from there, we're going to want to select the option that says inventory lost in FBA warehouse. So we can see right here, so inventory lost in FBA warehouse. Once you click that, you'll basically go ahead and enter the FN SKU that they want from you, which if you don't know how to find that, it's already on the shipments page here. So you can see the FN SKU of this item is on the bottom half here. And you'll basically copy and paste that particular FN SKU into the box if it's eligible for a follow-up claim. So then it's going to kind of load, and then it's going to say that, there's no lost units associated with your stuff that's eligible for reimbursement, right? Whatever. You're either going to get that or it's going to say you're eligible. Regardless, you're going to want to reach out and contact an associate. Okay. And for the description, you're going to want to actually mention that you cannot submit proof of inventory ownership for a shipment discrepancy. And then before you actually go and click into the live chat, or before you provide an email to them, you're going to want to get a screenshot of the error message when you try and click preview request for that particular shipment and provide it to the live chat agent. So this is essentially just showing them that, they say that effectively, this is just saying that the investigation that was completed wasn't actually completed because there is still missing units. You're just going to want to go ahead, get a screenshot of that, say you cannot provide the documentation to show that you are eligible for a reimbursement, and you're just going to do that all through the help menu. So we'll go ahead and click contact an associate, and again, you'll enter that FN SKU. You won't need to provide a reimbursement ID. If they make you, just type in something random because you haven't been reimbursed yet. And then again, again, in the description box, just go ahead and type in cannot submit proof of inventory ownership for a discrepancy. As you can see, I didn't have to provide a reimbursement ID. And then what's going to happen is it's going to load, and effectively you could just fire off a bunch of emails. But again, just make sure to include that you obviously can show them that they've already completed an investigation, or that if you're trying to submit more proof of ownership and it says that preview request thing, just basically make sure that you are giving them proof that like, hey, they lost your stuff, you have the inventory. I would recommend uploading your proof of ownership in the email as well, giving them all the information they need to go ahead and make a better decision on their end. It's not guaranteed that they're going to reimburse you here, but it gives you a much better shot, and it is something you're going to want to follow up with to get your money back as well. And with that out of the way, that covers basically following up on those investigations complete from your shipments dashboard. So moving on to the fourth out of fifth type of reimbursement here, it's going to be submit a reimbursement claim dispute. So what this effectively is for old reimbursements that Amazon gave you a reimbursed amount less than the cost that you paid for that particular item. So yes, there is actually a way to reverse how much Amazon paid you in the past for reimbursements, because if you didn't know about this stuff and you were just kind of accepting what they gave you, then you can actually go and follow up for eligible claims and essentially get some of that money back and recover some of that leakage. So by filing these, you're essentially trying to get Amazon to pay you back close or the full amount you have paid for an item that they shorted you on a reimbursement. So the first thing I want to note with this method is you're going to need inventory labs. As far as I know, they're the only software that can easily show you your sourcing cost of what you paid, and then on the flip side, what Amazon actually reimbursed you for. Okay, so here in inventory labs, you're going to want to hover over the accounting button, and then you're going to want to come down to reimbursements and click on that. And basically in here, it's going to show you how much you paid for a particular item, and that includes the SKU, the ASIN, all that kind of stuff, the title. It's going to show you how much you paid for that item, and then the amount that Amazon has reimbursed you for. So that's in the amount column here. And then it essentially tells you your profit or loss on that particular reimbursement. And then it also gives a description as to essentially what it is. So you're going to want to filter this particularly by the reimbursement reversals here. Okay. And in particular, the stuff that we're actually looking for is going to be stuff that was damaged in the warehouse, stuff that was lost in the warehouse. You're also going to want to look for stuff that was lost on inbound. Okay. And then if you have started to file for reimbursements, you're going to also get some stuff here that says reimbursement reversal. Effectively, this is when Amazon again is reimbursing you probably less than what you're actually owed. Okay. And then particularly for these reimbursement reversals, these can be a bit confusing. So essentially what this is Amazon has reversed the reimbursement that they once issued you based on the fact of they think that there's a reason for it. So it could be that maybe the item wasn't damaged or lost, or they found it, it's added back to your inventory. Effectively, it just covers the basis that they found the inventory and it's now actively selling again. So you probably would want to file up on these, especially if your profit is in the negatives, which would be documented by the red. You're probably going to want to follow up on these and just get in contact with Amazon and see what the reason for the reversal was. And then from there, I'm sure you can handle the steps with the current representative to see if you can provide proof if they messed that reversal up. But that is typically what reimbursement reversal is. You won't get those until you actually start filing for reimbursements. So if you're starting with a fresh slate, you're just going to want to particularly focus on damaged warehouse, lost in warehouse, or lost in outbound, or even lost in the inbound. Okay, so basically just any sort of transit activity where your inventory could have gotten lost. This is the stuff you're going to want to file reimbursements for. And particularly, you're going to want to file reimbursements for anything that is in the red in profit here, because what this is saying is effectively that you are effectively eating a negative cost for something that Amazon didn't reimburse you in full for. Now, you guys might be wondering, well, my buy costs are all zero. How do I actually enter my buy cost into Inventory Labs if it's not the primary software I use to track my bookkeeping and do all of my accounting and stuff? So I personally use Sellerboard, so I was in that same exact boat. So the easy way to upload your cost of goods into Inventory Labs is to simply go to Sellerboard and click on the products page in the left-hand side here. And then what you want to do is export all of your cost of goods. And what this is going to do is it's going to provide you with a spreadsheet that you can then go ahead and import into Inventory Labs here. Okay. And then how to actually paste in your bulk sourcing cost sheet from Sellerboard is you're effectively going to go to the inventory tab in Inventory Labs. And then based on if most of your inventory is FBA or FBM. And then when it comes to actually uploading that bulk sourcing cost sheet from Sellerboard, you're going to want to click Inventory in Inventory Labs and then click on FBA specifically, because merchant fulfilled inventory does not require reimbursements because you never send it to Amazon in the first place. Okay. And once you're in this page, page, you're going to click on the 3-lined dots in the top right and click import inventory data. And what this will do is tell you what you need so that Inventory Labs can actually update your cost of goods correctly with your bulk seller board upload sheet. And then this should be a quicker way to upload those active costs per unit if you don't already use Inventory Labs to track your costs like me, because I prefer seller board. I just think it's, you know, a better software for P&L tracking and stuff. That's just my personal opinion. So I use that, but you can still get your costs imported that way, or you'll have to do them manually one by one. Regardless, you can do them all on the inventory page in the FBA page here. Okay, and then the actual execution of the reimbursement process, again, is once you have your buy costs filled in, look for profit areas that are in red. Once you identify profit that is in the red, you're going to want to go ahead and file another Get Help and Resources claim with Amazon. So again, in the top right here, you're going to want to click Get Help and Resources. And this time we're going to do a little bit different of a claim. So we're going to go ahead and file for, once this loads, we're going to go ahead and file for a reimbursement claim dispute. Okay, and then you're going to want to enter in the reimbursement ID. And if you don't know where to locate the reimbursement ID, it's going to be in the ID tab in Inventory Labs right here. So you'll copy the reimbursement ID, and then you're going to go ahead and paste it into the box, and then go ahead and upload any invoices as well. Okay, this is where you'll upload that proof of purchase stuff again, like your invoices or, you know, order confirmation showing that you bought the product for X amount of sourcing cost. And then from there, you're just going to go ahead and do the same steps when it comes to getting in contact with a support specialist, whether that's via chat or email, and then getting Amazon to relook at the reimbursement and reevaluate the costs that they plan to disburse you. Okay, with this in particular, you can submit up to 3 claim disputes a day. So again, you'll just do that through submit a reimbursement claim dispute in the Get Help and Resources. And that is effectively the 4th part of the reimbursement process once you actually go through and file up to those 3 claims a day. So moving on to the very last step here in the reimbursement process, this is going to be eligible for claim reimbursements. Okay, so what this is just units that are eligible for a claim on their reimbursed totals. This is the final part in the leakage recovery process, and you'll want to ensure that you are filing for these to recover more money back when possible. Okay, this one is very short and simple. I don't even have any of these available to me right now. So first we're going to go ahead and go into the inventory defect and reimbursements page again. So again, 3-line button, hover over inventory and go to the dashboard. And then from the dashboard, hover over inventory again, inventory defect and reimbursement. And effectively all this step is if you have anything in here that is eligible for a claim, you will find it here. And from there, you're going to go ahead and provide all the information that Amazon is requesting from you. Again, here's what it basically means is all discrepant units that are eligible, and you can create a case with Amazon to request a reimbursement. So effectively, once you clear out most of these, you won't get too many of these coming back around. You'll just want to check on this from time to time to make sure that there's not anything eligible for a claim, because if there's anything that is eligible for a claim, you're going to want to obviously file for it to get some of your money back as well. Okay, so to quickly recap, because that was the last part of the reimbursement process, the entire thing I just ran you through. So let's go ahead and recap so that you can actually put this into a SOP or a process that you or your VA will be doing once a week to ensure that you're filing all reimbursements and you're not like scattered and confused on what to do. So you will want to update your inventory cost of goods in Seller Central 1 time per week before you proceed with any of these reimbursements. This will ensure that when reimbursed, Amazon will be giving you money back on accurate cost for what you paid. So what I think is a good idea is that original sheet that we downloaded in the beginning. Make sure you keep a copy of this that has all of these seller new costs, so that pretty much what you can do is just update the new ones that roll in, because when you download a new spreadsheet, it's just going to populate the bottom with the newest stuff that hasn't been updated yet. So you'll just want to keep an eye on those and then submit the new bulk upload sheet, particularly only with updated sourcing costs. So let's say that you already uploaded your seller new cost for stuff that was like way long ago. So for this example was like in August of 2025. Okay, you won't have to re-update that. So anytime that you're downloading that bulk sourcing sheet again, you'll just have to fill in the seller new cost for the new products that you're actually looking to get, you know, your sourcing costs entered for. You can do it that way, or what I think might even be easier is once you have this bulk sheet uploaded once, you'll just actually go ahead and do stuff one by one in the inventory defect and reimbursement menu. All right, and a really easy way to do this one by one is when you're in the manage your sourcing cost page, once you've uploaded your bulk sheet one time, you can just filter by sourcing cost from lowest to highest, and anything that hasn't actually had a cost submitted for it yet will show up here. So you can see when I downloaded this sheet, it automatically claimed that like all my stuff was pretty much zero with the date of the last updated cost. So really, I would recommend recommend only doing the bulk update sheet once. I know I kind of was like going back and forth there. And then once you update the bulk sourcing sheet once and you've pretty much submitted it into Amazon, you can just go ahead and update the rest of the stuff that comes up one by one when there is no sourcing cost by filtering top to bottom from lowest sourcing cost down to the most expensive ones. And it'll obviously populate the stuff that has zero cost of goods at the top here. And then you'll be able to click update and actually provide your sourcing cost. And based on the sourcing cost you provide, Amazon's either going to approve it, deny it, or ask for more proof and documentation. Okay, so you'll want to make sure you do this first before you do anything else once a week. Moving into the next step, you're going to want to then go into your shipment discrepancies first. Okay, that's going to be the stuff that is eligible for researching missing units again. Before you actually go in and file those research missing units, again, just quickly go back and reference your sourcing costs in that managed sourcing cost page, because if you have, let's say, a product that's eligible to research a missing unit for, yet that product was like 3 months old, okay, you might have paid a little bit more the second time around when you restock. So you'll want to update your costs in that example with a cost per unit that is the highest you've paid pretty much all time. So very important that literally for every single one of these steps, when you're filing for some sort of reimbursement, you're clicking that ASIN and you're copying and pasting it back into the update sourcing cost menu to make sure that your sourcing costs are accurate, to catch those older ASINs and to ensure that their sourcing costs are updated. After you've done that, you'll go through and do your shipment discrepancies, investigation complete. So again, when Amazon deems that an investigation on the inbound page is complete, yet there is still a discrepancy, you'll go through the process that we talked about earlier. Then you'll go through and submit your reimbursement claim disputes. Again, you'll do about 3 of these a day. That's the amount that Amazon allows. Go ahead and submit those. And then finally, you'll check if anything is eligible for claim reimbursements. Okay, and that is effectively your step-by-step SOP when it comes to handling reimbursements, what's important to do beforehand, and the entire process A to Z. Reimbursements was something I never even knew about until I was selling for over a year on Amazon. And since I had my VA file these claims for me, I recover back literally thousands of dollars a month from Amazon. Meaning if you aren't filing reimbursements like I am, you're probably losing out on thousands of dollars a month for yourself. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. It took a lot of time and a lot of effort to make, but something that had to be talked about because, again, you're going to be losing so much money if you don't file for these. And if you want more sauce like this, definitely subscribe to the newsletter below where I share this type of stuff once a week on Wednesdays to help you start or scale your Amazon business. And that's going to be all for me in this one, so I will see you in the next video. Peace out.